Hey everyone, here's a quick video for a commission that I've just finished. It's for a pair of sabers for a customer called Zynal. I'm really sorry if I've mispronounced your name, mate. I'm not very good with names, if I'm perfectly honest. He sent me a pair of sabers that just required quite a lot of work, externally and internally, and quite a short time frame in which to do them because he's leaving the country. Because he's at uni at the moment. So I managed to get most of the stuff done just in time. So hopefully it's all good. The first of the two sabers is a Darth Maul inspired saber from Ultrasabers, and it came with their own electronics in it originally. I basically gutted it, put a 3D printed chassis in. It's now running a deep red, white tricree. Rather than theirs. It's had the fake LEDs replaced, accent LEDs replaced with a pair of 5mm LEDs and one in the pommel for the crystal. It's running a Nanobuscotti V4, which is brilliant, by the way. If you can get hold of them, massively recommend them now for just a generic board. The new sensor on them is the same as the crystal focus, and the sensitivity is brilliant. So big props out to Irv at Placta Labs for the V4 version of the board. It's also running an 18650 battery, so good runtime, and a 28mm KR Sabers bass speaker, so nice and loud. External modifications that I also did to the saber were obviously replacing the LED holders, retapping these holes because they were rubbish, if I'm perfectly honest, and weren't tapped and were just held in super glue. So yeah, good quality control there, Ultrasabers. More accurate screw in the end. I was going to replace the screw, the switch with a screw switch here, but I basically just ran out of time and couldn't source an accurate one fast enough. And I had to go out, so that's one of the negatives with timescales and everything else. But if you ever need it replaced, Zynal, give me a heads up, and I'll try and source you one and try and get it done for you. And I can always send it to you, and you can just switch it out. Yeah, because it's obviously running a Nanobuscotti V4. It's got 3 sound fonts: Dark Meat, Grey Meat, and Ruin. I think it's Ruinous, but all nice fonts. The only thing on this one Zynal to be aware of is that I haven't really overdriven the red LEDs on this. They're a bit more heavily resisted than what's on the K4. The reason why is because of the additional accent LEDs and everything else, and just the state of those LEDs in particular. When I was testing them on my Veg PSU and everything else, and the voltage requirements, there was just quite a lot of draw. So I've just, and it's on an aluminium heatsink, not a copper one. So I've just brought them within safe levels. So it's still bright. It's just not the brightest, but it's still better than what was in there, basically. Boot is fairly easy because obviously it's just remove the existing kill key, and just so you're aware, Zynal. There you go, and. This is a Nanobuscotti. We've got some flash on clash. But because it's obviously running a 28mm bass speaker, it is very loud. And obviously just hold it down so you can put it into non-sound mode if you're using it for just messing around and doing some stunt work or whatever else you don't want the sound to be pressed, and power back off. And obviously just with all the other Nanobuscottis, just hold down to switch between fonts. So for example, here's Ruin. So nice dark side ominous font. So yeah, the swing sensitivity on the Nanobuscotti V4 is brilliant. If you're doing any kind of entry level boards now or entry level builds, I highly recommend that board because it's now super accurate. So moving on to the core banth K4. So obviously this is an Obi-Wan Kenobi style hint. style hilt, I should say. The main thing with this is because it's a K4, the internal diameter is absolutely rubbish and tiny, so it's just running a much more compact setup. So changes that I made to this. First of all, on the emitter, some additional weathering to kind of get a bit more of a damaged look that Zyno was after. The kind of choke brass section here was actually painted gold, and if I'm perfectly honest, it looked rubbish. So stripped it down to the original brass, weathered it using blackener for brass and some vinegar, and now it's just a nice weathered look. I don't know if the camera's probably going to focus in because it's a bit rubbish, but you can see it's now got a nice weathered look on there. Come on, camera. There we go. So it's now nice and weathered. Same thing with the weather vane section. That's now been blackened up and done correctly. Haven't really made any changes to the grenade section, other than just make sure it's got the rusting on it. When I got this, the clamp was rubbish. Basically, when this has been weathered and this part has been painted, the beneath the clamp had also been painted, and so because of that, the clamp wasn't sitting on correctly and then wasn't tightening correctly, and so the bubble strip was loose. So now that's been stripped, redone, retightened the clamp, and now basically that's not going anywhere. Basically, I'm putting my full force on that, and that bubble strip's not coming out unless you obviously do the cleaver, and then it won't lever it, and then it will. More accurate slot screw, because the screw in here was defritted and busted as well. And the only kind of inaccuracy on this bit is that there is a screw here, as I know. This has helped holding the internal chassis in place. If you want to remove it, then you can, but it's just there to help keep it in there. The switches at the moment are just held on with the switch hats, I should say, just held on with some tack, along with just friction fitted. That's just so that when they're transported to you, they don't get busted off or anything else. If you want to glue them on, you can, but they're not going to come off just by swinging them or anything else anyway. And then I also stripped the pommel, and because it was anodized, because I wanted it a bit more shiny, and then polished it up basically. Yeah, and that's basically it on the externals. On the internals, eventually undoes. We've got a 3D printed chassis. Pretty straightforward, and it's pretty basic, because if I'm honest, there is no room in this hilt at all. It's running a tri-cree, royal blue, green, white the flash and clash in the emitter section. I think pretty sure you could see it before, but it's mounted down there as deeply as it could be, so it's nice and bright, and also so it kind of overcomes some of the limitations of having it like mounted on a heatsink or anything, because otherwise the blade won't fit in, because there is not much room to fit a blade in. But if you're using a thin wall blade, then it fits over. Get the camera right, George. It fits over the LED module, so it gives you a little bit more blade depth. So when you do it, it's not going to come flying out. 18650. It's running a Spark 2 board, so quite a big board, which pretty much the widest width that you can get inside a K4 without modifying the internals massively. Technically you could get like a prism or something else in here, but I would have to modify the internals, and we didn't really have the time for that, unfortunately. But you can see it's running a Spark 2, and you can get to the SD card nicely by just sliding out the chassis slightly, and then just getting in and popping your finger. And it's got a small crystal chamber, and a recharge port, and a 20mm bass speaker at the end, because unfortunately that's all that'll fit. If I then this front button is activation, back button is auxiliary signal. So if you see, you can see you get the blinking of the crystal chamber. And if that's off, then before it goes into kind of deep sleep mode, the crystal will remain blinking. So if I just get a blade, screw that back in. Again, I'm not gonna swing this around and do the blade retention screw because screw that. Basically, you don't have much time on this video. But to give you an example, so you can see Xynel for your own usage. Activation, you get a nice light blue, like the original trilogy, because it's obviously based on the K4, and then rocks, obviously, which give you blasters and everything else. And it's just running the stock fonts on here at the moment. But what you will find is I've replaced the boot sounds with the ones that you sent me, Xynel. So
hello there. Hello there. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight. This is the weapon. Hello there.
And then back to the first font. So yeah, effectively, get that out, put that back. All finished. I hope you like them, Xynel. I hope they're what you're expecting. There's quite a lot of work to do on both of them in quite a short space of time, but I'm quite happy with how they come out. So yeah, I know you're going to be doing your own build fairly shortly. So good luck with that. If you need any hints and tips, give me a shout. Otherwise, may the force be with you always.